will very quickly say, okay, we got to have some new economic model where we share that and distribute that to people. I used to be really excited about things like UBI. I still am excited, like universal basic income, where you just give everybody money. I still am excited about that.
Welcome back to the channel. Guys, I hope you're having a great evening. So, today I want to talk to you about Sam Altman, who was kind of a bit callous behind WorldCoin, and a little bit about Elon Musk. So, in relation to universal basic income. So, these are two gentlemen who have spoke out about advocated for universal basic income, as far as we could tell from a lot of their the information they've put out about universal basic income. And so I was highly led to believe that Sam Altman had been a big proponent of universal basic income. And as you can tell by the video title, I'm asking the question, are they anti-UBI? So I don't think they're anti-UBI, but here's the problem. I don't like Sam's answer here about universal basic income. I used to be excited. So it's kind of a Freudian slip there, right? You have to pay attention to the language. I used to be. So to me, that kind of denotes there is a some type of realization that universal basic income probably won't happen, at least anytime soon, and you know, that it might just not, it might be a long fight. Now, the problem with Sam's answer is universal basic income requires a lot of energy, right? You got to be 100% in. You got to be sure, because it's going to be a long fight for universal basic income, even when people are desperately in need of universal basic income. We're going to see it be denied and people not getting the things they need, even in a period like that. And we know that because we have certain situations similar to that now, with people getting the type of aid they need, getting the type of social system they need to deal with whether it be problems in unemployment or what have you. So it's likely not going to be any different universal basic income. So you got to be certain about, you know, where you stand with it. And although he kind of basically beefs up the answer a little bit with, it's a similar thing he says with that Elon Musk says, where they're talking about not basic income, but this highly rich, wealthy distribution system. And the problem I have with that when I hear them speaking in terms like that is I tend to think more of a capitalist, and I don't mean the good capitalism. I mean more of the same of what we're getting now. That this is an answer just to say that, oh, this is going to be more of the same system. We're just going to create more profitable businesses and more profitable enterprises, and everybody's going to get rich and you're going to get a share of that. Now, of course, the problem has always been, it's never been that we haven't been able to create enough wealth in the country or in the world. It's always been the issue of when the wealth's created, there have been regulations and legal parameters that have stopped people from getting a share of these resources, right? And they find all types of excuses in order to keep these people from getting them. And so that's the problem with this answer. It's just like Elon Musk's answer, right? But to me, it's just another way of saying that there's going to be more money produced, there are going to be more goods produced, but it's still going to be the issue of how you get them and who gets them, right? And that's a problem, because then it's going to probably translate back to pretty much the same what we got now, just more automation producing more stuff, and a lot more people than now, or a lot less people than now getting those things than they're getting now. And so that's the problem with that. Elon Musk, just going to say a few things about Elon Musk. He was kind of on the train before Sam. Problem with Elon Musk is, and the problem I find with many people who talk about UBI, is in their actions, right? So with Elon Musk, he's been gung-ho about everything he's pursued and done a fairly good job with it, right? But he had a lot to say about universal basic income, but he has incorporated no systems into any of his projects to make it possible. And that's not hard to do. Like, there are ways that can be done with your companies and so on. And whereas, Sam, I think, had a very good start with WorldCoin, putting out WorldCoin, which and one of the leading taglines for WorldCoin was the universal basic income part. He did a good job with that, but if this is a lack of enthusiasm, and it seems it very well could be, this is typically what happens with a lot of the people in the tech world, then that's not a good sign, right? It's not a good sign at all, and I would be concerned about the direction of WorldCoin, headed up by people like this, who don't have that passion and are ready to take which are going to be necessary actions, and going to be actions that are going to need to be strong actions, right? Not the kind of go with the flow, let's see how, because that's another thing he was saying about people being concerned about. And see, that's another thing I think that has me greatly concerned about Sam here. Because he's using the same talking points that a lot of people use who don't understand UBI. So that either means Sam doesn't completely understand UBI, or that he is going down that other path of UBI is not going to be something that we're going to want to work with. We're not going to put any more energy and resources in it, because anytime people say, oh, UBI is going to cause people not to work, right? It is the most ridiculous amateur answer in any UBI research, right? It is typically given by people who don't know anything about UBI. Because if you understand how UBI works, the first thing you would know is that it is a supplemental income. It is for your basic needs. It has nothing to do with, paying for your all your entire life, paying for the house you're going to live in, the car you're going to drive, your kids' education, all that stuff has absolutely nothing to do with that. This is a kind of like a bit of a safety net to kind of help you along. That's what it fits the term better, supplemental income. We should maybe always include that in, because there are people who are really convinced out here, people who live in places like California, New York City, that really believe that if they got like a universal basic income, a lot of numbers they throw out there first are like $1,000 per month. These people really believe that there would be people trying to live off that, right? Basic needs, we're talking about the bare bone minimum. We're talking about you're not going to starve to death. You're going to be able to find a roof over your head, right? But at the same time, that doesn't take away the desire for people to work, right? You have a lot of working poor people who work hard every day and struggle and can't pay their bills. They would be able to do that, and to drop the stigma, right, of, a lot of times wealthy people who maybe don't need it. A lot of their problem has always been inclusion, right? So they'll go like, we're paying all these taxes, and, to be fair, universal basic income would mean everybody gets it. A lot of people don't like that. They want just people who need it to get it, but no, this has to be universal to everyone, because those same wealthy people, should they fall on hard times, that universal basic income might be something very useful to them. And if they're already getting it, they're included in the citizens tree like everybody else. And, so it dampens down that issue of, why am I paying for the lives of these other people and I'm not getting anything, right? At the end of the day, we suffer the selfish gene, and many people want to know what's in it for them. That's just how we are. That's just the state of affairs. And so universal basic income, the truest form of it, I believe, accounts for that. So, you know, in saying all that, and looking at WorldCoin, Sam's effort to solve the universal basic income problem, we want to just say a few things about that. So truly, I'm a believer in all types of universal basic income. I want to see them all succeed, right, to a great degree. But not all are equal to others, right? Not all are the same. And some are quite deficient in areas that it needs to address, right? Because many of them operate on different parameters. Some of them feel more like straight up welfare, where they just target poor people, and that's not what we want to see. We want to see a great general audience of people, because the improvements and the successes and the benefits of it spread across a multitude of demographics kind of creates a entire ecosystem that helps everybody, right? So in other words, you might be doing fairly okay, you're able to take care of your bills, maybe you can survive without universal basic income, but that extra money from UBI might allow you to take on endeavors you wouldn't have before, like creating jobs, right? Creating businesses, pursuing some that could have a big effect, a big impact on a lot of other people in the ecosystem, right? So that's why it needs to go all around. It can't just be to poor people, right? I don't think it would reach its maximum potential that way. But to speak on WorldCoin a little bit. So my fear is then, if Sam Altman is kind of feeling iffy about it, if that's what's happening here, and a lot of people who are into UBI are very passionate about it, they're very sure about it. Sam, to me, seems like he's more worried about the people who, and mind you, again, the people who are saying things like, oh, I don't want just people to give me money, I want to work for it, and things like that. Oh, okay. But the problem is, a lot of times that's coming from, would be coming from people who are, I would say, people who don't quite understand technology, and people who already have a bias, and it's a very about how they would want the world to be. Like, some people really feel that the world should work in a fair way, where they get up, and the amount of labor they produce is exactly parallel to the share they take and how life functions on. But we know none of that to be true. We know that we live in a system where the tax system, it benefits some, where it doesn't benefit others equally the same. We know that if a robot goes in and it can do the work of 100 men, that is not going to be necessary to have people up there, who maybe had those skills to do that, but those skills are no longer needed, and they don't have a desire to gain any more skills, or they're unable to, whatever the case may be. We're not ever going to live in a world where you're going to be able to fairly distribute labor out, put it in, and get it exactly back like you put in the work. And that goes as far as if you go to a place of work or a job and you don't feel like you're being compensated enough or paid enough. It's got to amount to the same thing. You're not going to receive. The exact amount you put in and get out. So number one, that no longer will work in a 21st century world. But the problem with Sam Altman, if he's not going to be very enthusiastic about WorldCoin to that degree, with the universal basic income aspect, then is it going to be the type of project that we need it to be? Really quick, we got to straighten out the universal basic income community who don't understand cryptocurrency, who tend to think of cryptocurrency as a scam because they've heard ideas like Bitcoin is a scam, right? In a universal basic income space, you got to get more educated about methods to solve this problem. And you also got to understand that cryptocurrency, the underlying technology to distribute money globally is what UBI advocates in cryptocurrency are after, right? It is almost a miscategorization of UBI projects and crypto being crypto projects, right? I would correct that and say UBI projects and crypto are just UBI projects that use cryptocurrency technology. There is a big difference. Let me say it again, or let me give you a better analogy. Let's say you have an illegal straight racing car, right? That is built on the framework of a car engine, exhaustion, and it has been rigged to run over 200 miles per hour, making it illegal on a road in certain areas, right? Certain countries or what have you. You would not say that the car itself or the technology that powers the car is a scam or is illegal or is a danger, right? What you would say is the use of the technology, how people have modified that car, is what the problem is. And this is what UBI people don't understand. They got to get on board with, because some of them are actually anti-crypto because they don't have the education to understand how powerful the blockchain technology is. The reason we need the blockchain technology is because on a global sphere, right, there are going to be a lot of people who are going to be denied universal basic income. You know, there are going to be a lot of governments who just aren't going to issue universal basic income. And if we're looking at this as a global community, as a global family, we're going to have means that are efficient and effective to deliver that to them at a value and at a price that is practical. Because any other systems would be quite expensive. If you look at our payment systems today, or how we move money around the globe, whether it's a wire transfer or whether it's through banks or what have you, payment processors like PayPal and so on, they charge exorbitant high fees, whereas cryptocurrency, these technologies will be feeless in some cases, or as close to feelers as you can get. Incredibly inexpensive, yet as powerful as any payment system. So that's number one, what you need to understand with that. The other problem with WorldCoin, if you're a WorldCoin user, we're on Bitcoin MYK, and I would invite you all to look that up. This is a passionate project about universal basic income and sure about what it wants to be. And with Bitcoin MYK, not only is it doing all those things in UBI that we need it to do, it's leaving out the things that we don't want it to do. So if you look at something like WorldCoin, you got to do the eyeball retina scan, right? And government UBIs are going to be the same. It's going to be a lot of red tape you got to go through, privacy concerns about the government's taking away these benefits and so on, right? It's going to just be a lot to deal with. That projects like ours and many others that we help will be copycats and so on, are going to help to alleviate the pressure. I think when you're looking at WorldCoin, it's done a lot of the negative things that we don't like, but it was a big effort nonetheless, the biggest we've seen in universal basic income thus far. Probably the one that's more closer to working so far. But it still has many setbacks, and if Sam Altman's heart isn't in it, if he starts to become like Elon Musk about UBI, then we're going to just get a lot of lip service, and we're not going to get the effectiveness and the truly benefit it could be. The other problem with WorldCoin, or these efforts with Sam, would be that in WorldCoin, if you don't see, because it seems to me what they're trying to do is WorldCoin, they kind of push UBI off to the side. It's like the most important thing, but they try to kind of sideline and say, okay, well, yeah, but you're going to be able to do all these other things like a global identity. Voting fraud could be reduced because you can vote using this technology. They can identify, you as an actual person. They no longer have to worry about counterfeiting and things like that, right? All makes sense, and I understand that. But at the end of the day, really what drives WorldCoin is the UBI. Like, people aren't giving out their identity because they think any of those things are a good idea. Nobody's lining up to be ID digitally online and be somewhat concerned about where their privacy and data goes. WorldCoin says it goes to a safe place and it's destroyed. But somewhere in between that handshake, many of us speculate there could be dangers of that information being intercepted, so on and so forth. It can still be quite a undesirable situation in the minds of many, and thus that may not work out entirely well. So if you take away the UBI, or if you're not going to put all the energy into the UBI, you really got nothing, because that's why the people are signing up. So you need a good UBI program, right? And it needs to be the leading program. Let me remind everybody who's listening to this video who might just think it's frivolous information. I'm on YouTube doing this video. Now, what we're seeing on video, we're seeing like billions of views of entertainment and what's going on in couples A's relationship, what's going on with Bradley Cooper, what's going on with Brad Pitt, and so on, right? All these celebrities' lives who don't even want you in their private lives talking about. And so there's nothing wrong with entertainment. Don't get me wrong. We need entertainment. But there is a priority list. And when you talk about something like universal basic income, the dangers of AI, the grandfather of AI, who just won a Nobel Prize, he gave an impassioned speech about the dangers of AI, right? AIs can accidentally launch nuclear weapons. AI can, steal all your identity. AI can create robots, take your jobs, steal your jobs. You know what that means? That means that this should be a #1 issue on the priority list. It means that videos I'm doing like here should be the ones that are getting billions of views and not celebrity gossip, right? Because these things are going to affect you and your families, right? Physically, health-wise, right? Not having a job could be the difference between a meal, a place to stay. And this technology is endangering all of that. Not trying to fearmonger, these are just the facts. So those things should be very, very important to you. You should take it very, very seriously. Because what is going to tend to happen is we might find ourselves in a situation like the global pandemic we had and so on, where a lot of people became dependent on the government to support them and supply them with necessary, needed things to survive. And some people not getting those things, right? And suffering greatly. Is that what you want? Because when your priorities get off track, these are the type of scenarios, it's not a matter of if it can happen, but it's more or less a matter of when. And when could be sooner than later. So that's why we do these things. That's why we're concerned about what we see happening around us, especially the comments from people who are leading the charge in efforts like this. Particularly and unfortunately, Sam Altman is part the problem and part the solution. He's created the ChatGPT. This is going to be the brain network that's going to be powering a lot of these AIs into the future. Remember, it's a ChatGPT 5 now. It's going to be a ChatGPT 50 and 100 and a billion. And these things are going to be more likely they're going to be off the chain, right? People are belittling the progress of ChatGPT 5. A lot of people are complaining, oh, it's not that good, it's a puppet and all that stuff. But ChatGPT 5 did introduce even more improvements than the last model. They might not be super impressive to you. Some people like 4 better, but combined with 4, and you're going to keep on improving this thing, it's just a matter of time before the genie is out the bottle, right? Or the demon. But that's all I want to say in this video. Make sure you share videos like this. They are important, guys. Make sure you take them serious. Maybe this might not affect you personally, but this could affect your family, your friends, your neighbors, and so on. And, you know, if you're in an ecosystem where there's so much of issues around you, whether it be crime related or whether it be people having problems that trickle down to you, it's going to have an impact on all of us. So we need to take this seriously, share the videos, ask questions, learn about this stuff, even if you are in the UBI community, because again, a lot of you don't understand blockchain technology. You think that people are creating UBI projects to create scams. I'm in some rooms and groups now where UBI advocates and people who do UBI things think like that now. And the only thing they talk about is trying to use the government to create solutions for UBI. A government that's going to control that UBI, and it's probably not going to be all the time in the people's best interest. So we need to really think about those things. Guys, that's all I want to say in this particular video. If you like content like this, don't forget to like, subscribe. Till next time, as always, take care of yourselves and each other.